Every day you wake up, you're at war. Not with the world, but with yourself, your thoughts, your impulses, your fear. Most people are unarmed, unaware, and unprepared. They react to life. They flinch. But the strategist, the one who trains, their mind like a blade, moves with clarity, with force, with silence. Over the next 30 days, you will learn to think like a master strategist. You will stop reacting and start commanding. Stop wandering and start calculating. This isn't just mindset training. This is battlefield preparation. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind, and tell us, where are you watching from? Listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, for these words carry the weight of centuries. I am Sun Tzu, and I have watched empires rise and fall, not through the clash of swords, but through the battle of minds. You believe your greatest enemies lie outside yourself. You scan the horizon for threats, arm yourself against competitors, and fortify against external forces. But you are fighting the wrong war. The most dangerous battlefield is not the one before you. It is the one within you. Every morning when you rise, a war begins. Your mind, untrained and undisciplined, launches its first assault. It whispers of comfort, of delay, of fear. These are not mere thoughts. They are enemy scouts, testing your defenses, searching for weakness. And like any untrained soldier, you let them pass unchallenged. This is your first lesson in strategic thinking. Know your enemy, but this enemy wears your face, speaks with your voice, and knows your deepest fears. It is the part of you that reacts without thinking, that speaks without calculating, that moves without purpose. Let me show you the territories of this inner battlefield. First, there is the province of impulse, where your actions spring not from strategy, but from emotion. Here, anger builds its fortress, pride establishes its garrison, and fear digs its trenches. Every time you react without thinking, you cede ground to these forces. Then there is the valley of distraction, a terrain so treacherous it has claimed more warriors than any external enemy. Here, your focus fragments like light through broken glass. Social media, idle conversations, pointless pursuits, these are not harmless diversions. They are guerrilla fighters, wearing down your mental resources, depleting your strategic capacity. The third territory is the mountain of self-deception. This is where you tell yourself comfortable lies, where you mistake movement for progress, where you confuse activity with achievement. Its peaks are littered with the remains of failed ambitions, not because the goals were impossible, but because the mind convinced itself that preparation was unnecessary. But there is one battlefield, more treacherous than all others, the desert of unconscious patterns. Here, your habits, your triggers, your automatic responses lie in wait like buried explosives. Most people never even know they're crossing this territory. They simply repeat the same mistakes, fall into the same traps, fight the same battles. Day after day, wondering why nothing changes. To think like a strategist, you must first map these territories within yourself. You must become both the general and the spy, observing your own thoughts with cold precision. When anger rises, do not act, observe. When fear speaks, do not run, listen. When impulse urges action, do not move, analyze. This is not meditation, this is reconnaissance. Every thought that crosses your mind is intelligence about your enemy. Every emotional reaction is a revealed position. Every impulse is a potential ambush. Begin today. For the next 24 hours, treat every thought as a military report. When anxiety strikes, ask, what intelligence does this bring about my defenses? When anger flares, question, what does this reveal about my vulnerable positions? When distraction beckons, consider, is this a genuine opportunity or an enemy decoy? The ancient generals knew a truth that modern minds have forgotten. No external. Victory can compensate for internal defeat. You may conquer territories, amass wealth, achieve goals, but if you cannot command your own mind, you are not a strategist. You are a prisoner of war in your own skull. This is why we begin here, with the war within. Every external battle is won or lost first in the mind. Every strategy fails or succeeds first in thought. Every victory or defeat is determined not by what you do, but by how you think. Remember, the untrained mind is like a city without walls, vulnerable to every passing invasion. But the mind of a strategist is an impregnable fortress, where every thought is challenged, every emotion is interrogated, and every decision passes through layers of defensive calculation. Your task for the next 30 days begins here. Before you learn to command armies, you must learn to command yourself. Before you learn to defeat enemies, you must learn to defeat your own chaos. Before you learn to conquer nations, you must learn to conquer the battlefield within. Tomorrow, we will discuss the weapon of silence. But today, your only mission is awareness. Map your mental territory, identify your defensive positions, study your enemy's patterns. For in this war, knowledge of yourself is both the weapon and the victory. The fool thinks strength wins battles. The amateur believes resources determine victory. But I tell you this, position is everything. The greatest army in the wrong position is weaker than a small force perfectly placed. This truth extends beyond the battlefield. In business, in relationships, in life itself, your position determines your potential. Yet most people never grasp this. They exhaust themselves trying to become stronger when they should be focusing on standing smarter. Let me show you what the masters know. The right position multiplies your strength. The wrong position nullifies it. Consider water. When it flows downhill, it can carve through mountains. When it rises upward, it drips weakly and falls back. Same water, different position, entirely different power. This is the first principle of strategic positioning. Your natural strengths flow easily from the right position, but struggle against poor placement. Most people choose their positions reactively. They go where opportunity seems to call, where others push them, where circumstance leads them. They are like leaves in the wind, claiming to move with flexibility, when in truth they move without strategy. The strategist thinks differently. Before moving, they ask, does this position amplify my strengths? Does it minimize my weaknesses? Does it give me control over crucial pathways? Does it provide multiple options for advance or retreat? Let me teach you the 4 laws of strategic positioning. First, height commands the valley. In ancient warfare, the army that controlled the high ground controlled the battle. In modern life, the principle remains true. Look for positions that give you oversight, that let you see movements before others, that force competitors to climb to reach you. This might mean being first in a new market. It might mean having unique knowledge others lack. It might mean building relationships with decision-makers above your current level. The form changes, but the principle remains. Position yourself above the fray. Second, crossroads control movement. The army that controls key intersections controls the flow of resources, information, and opportunity. In your life, seek positions at the confluence of different streams. Where do different industries meet? Where do different networks intersect? Where do different skills overlap? These are positions of power. Third, narrow passes multiply force. A small army in a mountain pass can hold off a much larger force. Look for positions where your specific strengths are magnified by the terrain. Don't compete in open fields where pure size wins. Find niches where your particular advantages become decisive. Fourth, supply lines determine sustainability. 3. Greatest position becomes a trap if you cannot sustain yourself there. Before taking any position, analyze your supply lines. How will you maintain your energy, your resources, your advantages? A position that drains you faster than you can replenish is not a position of strength. It is a slow surrender. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. Before taking any new position, job, relationship, project, investment, stop. Don't ask whether you can do it. Ask whether you should be there at all. Is this position defensible? Does it give you advantage? Does it connect to positions you might want to take in the future? Learn to read the terrain of opportunity. Just as a general surveys landscapes, you must survey situations. Where are the high grounds of advantage? Where are the bottlenecks of control? Where are the open fields to avoid? Where are the secure supply lines? Most crucial of all, learn to recognize bad positions early. The greatest skill in positioning is not taking good positions, it's recognizing and abandoning bad ones quickly. Don't let ego keep you defending an indefensible position. Don't let sunk costs trap you in a position that drains your strength. Your task today is this: analyze your current positions in your work, your relationships, your projects. Where do you stand? Are you on the high ground or fighting uphill? Are you at a crossroads of opportunity or stuck in a dead end? Are your supply lines secure or are you bleeding resources? Be ruthless in this analysis. Position is too important for sentimentality. If you find yourself in a poor position, don't waste energy trying to make it work. Either find a way to improve the position or begin planning your strategic withdrawal to better ground. Remember, the master strategist knows that where you stand matters more than what you're made of. The strongest warrior in quicksand will sink. The weakest fighter on solid ground has a chance. Choose your ground first, then worry about gathering strength. Position is not just about where you are, it's about where you can go next. Every position should give you options, advantages, and the ability to move to even stronger positions when the time is right. This is how you build not just victory, but sustainable dominance. Think on this as you move through your day. Every choice you make is a position taken. Make sure it's one worth defending. The amateur thinks in moments. The strategist thinks in movements. This is why most people remain trapped in endless reaction, while the true master shapes events before they occur. Let me share with you a truth that has determined the fate of empires. Every action creates not one result, but a cascade of consequences. The surface thinker sees only the first ripple. The strategist sees the entire wave. You must learn to think 3 moves ahead, always. This is not a metaphor. This is a minimum. Every decision you make should be analyzed through its first consequence, its second consequence, and its third consequence. Anything less is tactical blindness. Consider the untrained mind. They see an opportunity for immediate gain, a new job, a business deal, a chance to prove themselves right. And they seize it. They celebrate the first move as if it were the final victory. But they fail to see how that very success creates new vulnerabilities, new obligations, new battlefields they are not prepared to defend. The strategist thinks differently. Before making the first move, they have already visualized the third. They ask, if I succeed here, what new challenges will that success create? If I win this battle, what new enemies might that victory create? If I gain this advantage, what responsibilities come with it? Let me teach you how to develop this level of foresight. First, you must understand the principle of strategic sequence. No action exists in isolation. Every move you make changes the battlefield. Every success alters the terrain. Every victory shifts the balance of power. The true master is not playing with pieces. They are playing with possibilities. When facing any decision, force yourself to ask these questions in sequence. What is the immediate result of this action? What opportunities or threats will that result create? How will others react to those changes? What new situation will those reactions create? This is not paranoia. This is preparation. The general who can see 3 moves ahead controls the battle. The strategist who can see 3 consequences ahead controls their destiny. But mere foresight is not enough. You must also understand the principle of strategic momentum. Each move should not just achieve an objective, it should set up your next 3 moves. Your actions should be like stones in a river, each one placed not just for its own stability, but to create a path forward. Here is how you build strategic momentum. Before any significant action, map out your next 3 moves. For each of those moves, identify at least 2 possible paths forward. For each path, identify the resources you'll need and the oppositions you might face. Only then, when you can see the full sequence, should you make your first move. Most people fail not because their first move was wrong, but because they had no plan for their third. They win the job, but can't handle the politics. They make the money, but can't manage the complexity. They achieve the goal, but can't sustain the success. This is why I teach you to think in sequences, not situations. Every opportunity has a cost. Every advantage creates a responsibility. Every victory plants the seeds of the next challenge. The master strategist sees all of this before making the first move. Let me give you practical exercises to develop this foresight. Today, take 3 decisions you need to make. For each one, force yourself to write down the immediate result you expect, 3 ways others might react to that result, 3 new situations those reactions could create, 3 ways you could respond to each of those situations. This is not overthinking. This is proper strategic calculation. The time you spend mapping possibilities is time saved fighting unnecessary battles. Learn to read chains of causality. When you see others succeed or fail, don't focus on the final moment. Trace back the sequence of events that led there. Look for the patterns of cause and effect. Study how small decisions compound into major consequences. Most importantly, learn to recognize decision points that limit future options. Some moves, once made, cannot be unmade. Some paths, once taken, cannot be retraced. The master strategist sees these points of no return and gives them the careful consideration they deserve. Your mind must become like a chess master's, able to see not just the board as it is, but as it could be 3 moves from now. This is not a natural skill. It must be developed through constant practice, through disciplined analysis, through relentless questioning of what comes next. Remember, the future belongs to those who can see it coming, not through mystical foresight, but through strategic calculation. Every surprise is a failure of analysis. Every unexpected setback is a blind spot in your strategic vision. Train your mind to see beyond the immediate. Force yourself to trace consequences to their 3rd degree. Make no move without understanding its cascade of effects. This is how you transform from a tactical reactor into a strategic creator. The world is full of people playing checkers in a chess universe. They move one step at a time, celebrating each jump, unaware of the complex patterns developing around them. Don't be one of them. Think 3 moves ahead. See the whole board. Shape the future before it arrives. Listen carefully to what I am about to tell you, for this lesson has saved empires and destroyed them. Emotion is the greatest enemy of strategic thinking. It is not your competitors who defeat you most often. It is your own emotional reactions. The untrained mind believes emotion adds power to action. They think anger makes them stronger, that passion makes them more effective, that desire makes them more determined. They are wrong. Emotion doesn't strengthen your strategy. It blinds you to it. Let me share with you the iron law of strategic thinking. The more emotional you become, the less strategic you can be. Every degree of emotional investment is a degree of strategic blindness. This is not a call for coldness. This is not a denial of feeling. This is the cultivation of strategic detachment, the ability to see situations exactly as they are, not as they make you feel. Consider how the untrained mind operates. Someone criticizes their work, and anger rises. In that anger, they miss crucial feedback. Someone challenges their position, and pride flares. In that pride, they escalate conflicts they should avoid. Someone threatens their status, and fear emerges. In that fear, they make defensive moves that weaken their position. The master strategist operates differently. They understand that every emotion is a potential vulnerability, every reaction a possible trap. They have learned to create space between stimulus and response, a gap where strategic thinking can occur. Let me teach you the 4 levels of strategic detachment. First level, recognition. Learn to recognize emotional reactions as they arise. Name them, label them. Not to suppress them, but to see them clearly. This is anger rising. This is fear speaking. This is pride taking control. This recognition alone creates the first degree of separation between you and your emotional responses. Second level, analysis. When emotion arises, analyze it as intelligence about yourself. Your anger reveals what you feel threatens you. Your fear shows what you believe can harm you. Your pride exposes what you think defines you. This is valuable data, but it is not strategic guidance. Third level, separation. Learn to separate your emotional response from your strategic response. When a situation triggers emotion, say to yourself, I feel this, but I will decide separately from this feeling. Your emotions can inform your strategy, but they must not direct it. Fourth level, utilization. At the highest level, you learn to use emotional detachment as a strategic advantage. When others are reactive, you remain clear. When they are blinded by feeling, you maintain strategic vision. Your detachment becomes a form of power. Now let me show you how to practice this detachment in real situations. When someone attacks you verbally, your first task is not to respond. It is to achieve detachment. Count in your mind, focus on your breathing, create space between their words and your reaction. In that space, strategic thinking becomes possible. When you face a loss or setback, your immediate response should be to step back mentally. Observe your emotional reaction as if it belonged to someone else. Ask yourself, if I were advising another person in this exact situation, what would I tell them? This distance gives you strategic clarity. In negotiations or conflicts, make it a practice to become more detached the higher the stakes become. The more important the situation, the more crucial your strategic clarity becomes. Let others become emotional. Let them lose their strategic vision. Your detachment is your advantage. But remember this crucial distinction. Strategic detachment is not emotional suppression. You are not trying to feel nothing. You are creating space between your feelings and your decisions. Feel everything, but decide from clarity, not from emotion. Here are your practical exercises for developing strategic detachment. Today, in every challenging interaction, practice delayed response. When someone says something that triggers an emotional reaction, silently count to 5 before responding. In those 5 seconds, observe your emotional response without acting on it. In your next 3 decisions, use the third-person perspective. Instead of asking, "What should I do?" ask, "What would I advise someone else to do in this exact situation?" This small shift in perspective creates crucial strategic distance. When you feel strong emotions arising in any situation, practice the strategic pause. Stop, step back mentally. Ask yourself these 3 questions. What is the emotion I'm feeling? What is the strategic reality of this situation? What would be my best move if I felt nothing at all? Remember, your emotions are like weather patterns passing through the sky of your mind. The sky itself, your strategic awareness, remains vast and clear above these temporary conditions. This is why the ancient masters emphasized emotional mastery above all else. They knew that no strategy survives emotional hijacking. No advantage remains when anger takes the helm. No position holds when fear makes the decisions. Train yourself to create this space between emotion and action. Let others react while you respond. Let them be driven by feeling while you are guided by strategy. This is not just a tactical advantage. It is the foundation of strategic mastery. The greatest power lies not in what you say, but in what others believe. The master strategist understands that perception shapes reality, and reality follows perception. Today, I will teach you the art of controlling narratives, not through force, but through subtle influence. Most people try to change minds through argument. They believe that if they speak loudly enough, long enough, forcefully enough, others will see their truth. This is the strategy of amateurs. The master knows that direct confrontation creates resistance, while subtle influence creates willing allies. Let me share with you the supreme art of narrative control. Make others arrive at your conclusions on their own. When they do, they will hold these beliefs twice as strongly as if you had persuaded them directly. The first principle of narrative control is this: people resist being pushed, but they welcome being guided. Your role is not to be the force that moves them, but the path they choose to walk. Consider how the untrained mind attempts to influence others. They state their case directly. They argue their points explicitly. They try to overwhelm opposition with evidence and intensity. In doing so, they create resistance. They make their influence visible and therefore easy to resist. The strategist works differently. They understand that influence is like water. It flows best through paths of least resistance. They know that the strongest beliefs are those people think they discovered for themselves. Let me teach you the 5 principles of silent influence. First, control the context, not the conversation, before any word is spoken. Shape the environment in which decisions are made. Control what information is available. Structure the options. Set the frame through which others will view the situation. The battle of influence is won before the first argument is made. Second, plant seeds. Don't push ideas. Instead of stating your full position, plant small seeds of thought. Ask questions that lead to your conclusions. Share stories that illustrate your points. Let these seeds grow naturally in the minds of others. What grows from within cannot be easily uprooted. Third, create vacuum, not pressure. Instead of pushing your ideas forward, create spaces that pull others toward them. Ask questions that reveal gaps in current thinking. Highlight problems without immediately offering solutions. Let others feel the need for change before you suggest direction. Fourth, use contrast, not confrontation. Don't attack opposing views directly. Instead, place them next to better alternatives. Let the contrast do the work. People will move away from weaker positions on their own when they clearly see stronger ones. Fifth, build networks, not arguments. Your influence should not flow directly from you to your target. Build networks of aligned interests. Create coalitions of supporting voices. Let your ideas reach others through multiple trusted sources. The power of a narrative grows with each independent voice that carries it. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. When you want to change someone's mind, never begin with your conclusion. Start with common ground. Find the beliefs you share. Build from there step by step, letting each point naturally lead to the next. Make your destination seem like the natural extension of their existing path. Learn to use strategic questioning. Don't tell people what to think. Ask questions that lead them to think it. What would happen if? Have you considered? How would this affect? Questions bypass resistance. They engage rather than confront. Master the art of strategic silence. When you want others to question a position, don't attack it. Simply ask for more detail. Let them explain more fully. Often the flaws in thinking become apparent through explanation, not argument. Understand the power of social proof. People look to others to validate their choices. Instead of trying to influence your target directly, influence those around them. Create an environment where your desired outcome seems like the natural consensus. But remember this crucial truth. Narrative control is not about deception, it's about direction. You're not creating false realities. You're helping others see existing realities more clearly from better angles with greater understanding. Here are your exercises in narrative control. Today, in every important interaction, practice indirect influence. Instead of making statements, ask questions. Instead of offering solutions, help others discover them. Instead of pushing your view, create conditions where your view becomes the natural conclusion. In your next 3 attempts to change someone's mind, follow this sequence. First, understand their current narrative completely. Then, Find elements in their narrative that can bridge to yours. Finally, help them discover the path between their position and yours. When you encounter resistance, practice strategic patience. Don't push harder. Instead, step back and ask, what context am I missing? What foundations need to be laid? What beliefs need to be examined first? Remember, the greatest influence is invisible. When you've mastered narrative control, others will adopt your ideas as their own, support your positions as their choices, and move in your direction by their own will. This is why the ancient masters emphasized subtle influence over direct force. They knew that minds once changed through force revert when force relaxes, but minds changed through subtle influence stay changed because the change feels internal, natural, chosen. Your task is to become not the force that pushes, but the path that beckons, not the voice that commands, but the context that guides. This is how you achieve lasting influence. This is how you control narratives without ever seeming to control anything at all. In the realm of strategy, there exists a force more powerful than any weapon, more decisive than any army: time. The master strategist understands that patience is not passive waiting, it is active power. Today I will teach you how to use delay as a weapon. The untrained mind rushes. They mistake speed for power, immediacy for advantage. They respond to every provocation, chase every opportunity, react to every threat. In their haste to act, they surrender the greatest strategic advantage, the power to choose when to move. Let me share with you a truth that has toppled empires. Those who can wait hold power over those who cannot. The ability to delay action, to stand unmoved while others rush, to remain calm while others panic, this is the mark of strategic mastery. Consider how nature demonstrates this principle. The oak tree does not rush to meet the storm. It stands. It endures. When lesser plants break in their hurry to bend, the oak's patience becomes its strength. This is not mere survival. It is strategic superiority through calculated inaction. But understand this: strategic patience is not passive waiting. It is not inertia disguised as strategy. It is the calculated deployment of time as a weapon. It is the conscious choice to let pressure build, to let situations ripen, to let opponents exhaust themselves while you conserve strength. Let me teach you the 4 powers of strategic delay. First power: pressure creation. When you refuse to react immediately, you create pressure on others. They become uncertain. They question their actions. They reveal their positions. Your patience forces them to move first, to show their hand, to expose their strategy. Second power: intelligence gathering. Every moment you delay is a moment to gather more information. While others rush to act on partial knowledge, your patience allows you to collect crucial intelligence, to see patterns emerge, to understand situations more deeply. Third power: resource conservation. Acting costs energy. Reacting costs more. When you exercise strategic patience, you conserve resources while others deplete theirs. You maintain strength while they exhaust themselves with unnecessary actions. Fourth power: opportunity creation. Patience creates opportunities that haste never sees. While others rush forward, you observe. You notice gaps in their strategy. You see weaknesses in their position. You identify leverage points that only become visible with time. Now let me show you how to develop strategic patience. First, you must master the art of calculated delay. When faced with any situation that demands response, ask yourself, what advantages does immediate action give me? What information might delay reveal? What opportunities might patience create? Only when delay offers no further advantage should you move. Learn to recognize false urgency. Most deadlines are artificial. Most pressures are temporary. Most demands for immediate action are tactical manipulations. The strategist sees through these and maintains their chosen timing. Understand the difference between strategic delay and procrastination. Procrastination is avoidance based on fear. Strategic delay is positioning based on calculation. One weakens your position, the other strengthens it. Master the art of active waiting. While you delay action, gather intelligence. Study patterns. Observe reactions. Let your mind work while your body stays still. This is not inaction. It is preparation. Here are your exercises in strategic patience. Today, whenever you feel pressured to act quickly, pause. Count to 10 slowly. Ask yourself, is this truly urgent or merely urgent feeling? What advantage might I gain by waiting? What information am I missing? That time might reveal. In your next 3 conflicts or challenges, practice delayed response. No matter how provocative the situation, wait 24 hours before taking any significant action. Use this time to observe how the situation develops. Study others' reactions. Identify patterns and opportunities. Plan multiple response options. When facing any important decision, implement the 3 delays rule. First delay, initial assessment. Second delay, pattern recognition. Third delay, strategic positioning. Only then act with full force and clarity. Remember, time is not your enemy. It is your ally. Every moment you can delay without disadvantage is a moment working in your favor. Every second others waste trying to force your action is a second they lose in strategic position. This is why the ancient masters valued patience above all martial skills. They knew that the warrior who can wait will always hold advantage over the one who must act. They understood that strategic patience is not a passive virtue, it is an active power. Your task is to transform delay from a weakness into a weapon, to make patience not just a trait, but a strategic choice, to understand that sometimes the most powerful move is to stand unmoved, letting time itself shape the battlefield to your advantage. Practice this and you will understand why I say, those who can wait will inherit the victories of those who cannot. Those who master patience master time itself. And those who master time master strategy. Listen carefully to this supreme principle of strategic warfare. The greatest victory is the battle not fought. The superior strategist wins first, then engages. The amateur engages first, then tries to win. This truth has been misunderstood. For centuries, many believe it means avoiding conflict. They are wrong. It means ensuring victory before the first move is made. It means understanding that the real battle is won in preparation, not in execution. Let me share with you the iron law of strategic engagement. Never enter a battle you have not already. 1. This sounds impossible to the untrained mind. They think victory is determined during conflict. The master knows different. They understand that victory is determined by conditions created before conflict begins. Consider how the amateur approaches conflict. They react to challenges immediately. They engage in battles without full preparation. They hope their effort during the fight will be enough. This is why they often fail. They try to create victory during battle instead of before it. The strategist operates differently. Before engaging in any conflict, whether in business, in relationships, in life, they ensure 5 conditions are met. First condition, position, dominance. You must hold the superior position before engagement begins. This means having leverage, having advantage, having the high ground, whatever form that takes in your specific situation. If you lack position dominance, you are not ready for engagement. Second condition, resource superiority. You must have more resources, time, energy, money, allies, options than needed for victory. Not just enough to win, but enough to win decisively. If you must strain your resources for victory, you are not ready for engagement. Third condition, intelligence clarity. You must understand the battlefield completely. Know your opponent's strengths, weaknesses, options, and likely moves. Know the terrain, the timing, the variables. If any crucial information is missing, you are not ready for engagement. Fourth condition, multiple paths. You must have at least 3 viable paths to victory before engaging. One path is vulnerability. Two paths are risk. Three paths ensure that if conditions change, you can still achieve your objective. If you see only one way to win, you're not ready for engagement. Fifth condition, secure retreat. You must have clear exit options if conditions turn unfavorable. Never enter a strategist battle where you cannot retreat strategically. If you cannot safely disengage, you are not ready for engagement. Let me teach you how to apply these principles in practice. Before any significant engagement, whether it's a business negotiation, a career move, a personal confrontation, analyze these conditions systematically. Do not proceed until all five are met. This is not overcaution, it is strategic necessity. Learn to recognize battles that cannot be won under current conditions. This is crucial wisdom. When you see that conditions are not favorable, do not engage. Instead, work to change the conditions. Shape the battlefield before the battle begins. Master the art of preparation dominance. The superior strategist spends 90% of their energy creating favorable conditions and only 10% in actual engagement. The inferior strategist does the opposite, exhausting themselves in battles they haven't prepared to win. Here are your practical exercises in strategic preparation. Today, examine 3 potential conflicts or challenges in your life. For each one, analyze the 5 conditions systematically. Do you hold the superior position? Do you have more than enough resources? Do you fully understand the situation? Can you see at least 3 paths to victory? Can you safely disengage if needed? For any situation where conditions are not met, practice strategic patience. Do not engage. Instead, create a specific plan to establish each missing condition. Remember, time spent in preparation is not delay. It is strategic investment. When faced with provocation or challenge, resist the urge to engage immediately. Instead, ask yourself, have I already won this battle through preparation? If not, what conditions must I create before engagement? How can I improve my position before committing to conflict? Remember this crucial distinction. The amateur thinks victory is determined by who fights harder during battle. The master knows victory is determined by who has created better conditions before battle. This is why the ancient text says, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting." This is not pacifism. It is the highest form of strategic dominance. When conditions are perfectly prepared, victory is assured before engagement begins. Your task is to transform your approach to conflict. Stop thinking in terms of winning battles. Start thinking in terms of creating conditions where victory is inevitable. Stop trying to overpower opposition. Start arranging situations where opposition becomes unnecessary. This requires a fundamental shift in how you view conflict. The battle is not the decisive moment. It is merely the visible manifestation of victory or defeat already determined by prior conditions. Your real work happens before engagement, not during it. Practice this principle rigorously. Never enter a battle simply because it is offered. Never engage simply because you're challenged. Never fight simply because you can. Enter only those conflicts where victory is assured by the conditions you have already created. This is the path of the master strategist, to win so completely. Through preparation, that actual conflict becomes almost unnecessary, to create conditions so favorable that victory is assured before the first move is made, to achieve such superior position that opposition dissolves before engagement begins. The world glorifies force, but the master strategist understands a deeper truth. Leverage defeats strength. The smallest pressure, perfectly applied, overcomes the greatest resistance. Today, I will teach you the art of strategic leverage. Consider how the untrained mind approaches challenges. They meet force with force. They push when pushed. They escalate when threatened. They believe that victory comes from superior strength. This is why they exhaust themselves fighting battles they could win with minimal effort. Let me share with you the supreme principle of leverage. The greater the force, the more it can be turned against itself. just as in physical combat where the strongest opponent provides the energy for their own defeat. Every situation contains within it the seeds of its own transformation. The master strategist sees what others miss. Points of leverage exist in every situation. These are places where small inputs create large outputs, where minimal effort yields maximum effect, where subtle pressure creates dramatic change. Let me teach you the 5 principles of strategic leverage. First principle, find the fulcrum. In every situation, there exists a point where pressure creates maximum effect. This is your fulcrum. It might be a person's core motivation, a system's critical dependency, a process's key constraint. Find this point, and minimal effort produces maximum results. Second principle, use existing forces. Never add force when you can redirect existing momentum. If there is already movement, guide it. If there is already pressure, channel it. If there is already desire, shape it. Why build energy when you can harness what's already flowing? Third principle, create multipliers. Look for ways to make each action serve multiple purposes. Every move should advance several objectives. Every effort should create compound effects. This is how the strategist achieves more while doing less. Fourth principle, exploit structural weaknesses. Every system, every person, every situation has natural fault lines. These are not places to attack with force. They are places to apply subtle pressure. Let the structure's own tensions do the work. Fifth principle, maintain strategic asymmetry. Never use 10 units of force when 1 unit of leverage will suffice. The more effort you expend, the more energy you waste, the more vulnerability you create. Minimal input for maximum output. This is the way of leverage. Now let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. Before attempting to change any situation, analyze it for leverage points. Where are the natural tensions? What forces are already in motion? What dependencies exist? Where would small changes create large effects? Learn to recognize the 3 types of leverage. Mechanical leverage. This is about position and timing. Like a lever moving a boulder, the right position at the right time multiplies your effectiveness. In business, this might be entering a market at precisely the right moment. In relationships, it might be raising an issue when receptivity is highest. Psychological leverage. This involves understanding core motivations and pressure points. People move based on their desires and fears, not your force. Find what naturally motivates them, and you need not push at all. Systemic leverage. This is about understanding how systems amplify effects. Small changes in key areas ripple through entire structures. Find these points of amplification, and minimal input creates maximum impact. Here are your exercises in strategic leverage. Today, examine 3 challenges you face. For each one, ask, am I currently using force where leverage would suffice? What existing momentum could I redirect instead of creating new force? Where are the natural pressure points I'm not utilizing? Practice the art of minimal intervention. Before taking any significant action, ask yourself, is this the smallest possible action that could produce the desired effect? Am I using existing forces or creating unnecessary new ones? Could timing and position multiply the effectiveness of less effort? Master the recognition of leverage points. In every situation, identify the fulcrum, where pressure would be most effective, the existing forces, what's already in motion, the natural fault lines, where systems are naturally stressed, the multiplier, opportunities, how one action could serve many purposes. Remember, the amateur relies on force because they cannot see leverage points. The master strategist succeeds with minimal effort because they understand where and how to apply pressure. This is why the ancient masters emphasized skill over strength. They knew that force creates resistance, while leverage creates transformation. They understood that the highest form of strategy is not to overpower opposition, but to redirect it. Your task is to transform your relationship with effort. Stop trying to be stronger. Start being more strategic. Stop pushing harder. Start positioning better. Stop using force. Start applying leverage. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Look for leverage points in every situation. Seek opportunities for minimal input and maximum output. Remember, the master strategist achieves more by doing less, not because they are weak, but because they understand where and how to apply pressure. This is the path to true strategic power, not the crude application of force, but the subtle mastery of leverage, not the exhaustion of constant effort, but the elegance of precise pressure, not the depletion of strength, but the multiplication of effect through strategic position. There exists a power greater than any display of strength, the power of being underestimated. The greatest advantage in any conflict is not to be feared, but to be overlooked. Today, I will teach you the strategic art of invisible power. The untrained mind seeks recognition. They broadcast their abilities, showcase their strengths, announce their intentions. In doing so, they surrender their greatest strategic advantage, the element of surprise. They trade the power of invisibility for the pleasure of acknowledgement. Let me share with you a truth that has shaped the fate of nations. The most dangerous person in any room is the one no one is watching. Power that is visible can be countered. Power that is hidden strikes without warning. Consider how nature demonstrates this principle. It is not the loudest predator that catches the most prey, but the one that moves unseen. The tiger that announces its presence goes hungry. The one that remains invisible feasts. The master strategist understands this deeply. They know that being underestimated is not an insult. It is an advantage. Being overlooked is not a weakness. It is a weapon. Being dismissed by others does not diminish your power. It magnifies it. Let me teach you the 5 principles of strategic invisibility. First principle: cultivate the ordinary. Learn to blend into your environment. Adopt the common appearance. Speak the common language. Let your extraordinary qualities remain hidden beneath ordinary surfaces. The more typical you appear, the more your true capabilities remain undetected. Second principle: accept underestimation. When others underestimate you, do not correct them. When they dismiss your capabilities, do not defend yourself. When they overlook your potential, do not prove them wrong. Not yet. Let their misconception become your shield. Third principle: master selective incompetence. Learn to appear less capable in areas where scrutiny would disadvantage you. Strategic incompetence in minor matters can blind others to your mastery of major ones. Let them think you struggle with small things while you perfect the essential ones. Fourth principle: create false patterns. Establish patterns that others come to expect, but keep your true capabilities outside these patterns. Let them think they can predict you. Let them believe they understand your limits. Their confidence in their understanding becomes their vulnerability. Fifth principle: maintain strategic opacity. Never reveal the full extent of your capabilities. Always keep something in reserve. Let others see only what serves your strategy. The power they don't know you have is the power they cannot defend against. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, you must master the art of strategic self-presentation. In any new environment, observe the average. Study the normal. Learn what passes without notice. Adopt these patterns in your external presentation while maintaining your inner development. Let your visible self be the armor that protects your growing power. Learn to recognize opportunities for strategic invisibility. When others are competing for attention, choose to blend. When others are displaying strength, practice appearing ordinary. When others are announcing their intentions, maintain your silence. Master the art of selective revelation. Never show all your capabilities at once. Reveal only what serves your current objective. Keep your highest skills hidden until they are critically needed. Here are your exercises in strategic invisibility. Today, practice the art of strategic withdrawal. In 3 situations where you would normally display your knowledge, choose to listen instead. When praised for one capability, direct attention to something more ordinary. When others underestimate you, resist the urge to correct them. Practice the discipline of selective competence. Identify 3 areas where being underestimated serves your long-term strategy. In these areas, carefully manage others' perception of your capabilities. Remember, you are not diminishing your power. You are disguising it. Master the art of pattern creation. Establish visible patterns that others can easily recognize. Develop your true capabilities outside these patterns. Let your apparent predictability become their blindness. Remember, the amateur seeks validation through display. The master strategist knows that true power grows best in shadow. They understand that visibility creates vulnerability, while invisibility creates opportunity. This is why the ancient masters emphasized the power of appearing weak when you are strong. They knew that the visible target draws all arrows, while the invisible one strikes at will. They understood that the highest form of power is the one others don't realize exists. Your task is to transform your relationship with recognition. Stop seeking acknowledgement. Start cultivating invisibility. Stop proving your power. Start disguising it. Stop defending against underestimation. Start using it. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Let others display while you develop. Let them boast while you build. Let them seek spotlight while you seek advantage. Remember, the master strategist knows that true power, like a deep river, moves most forcefully beneath a calm surface. This is the path to strategic supremacy, not through the visible display of power, but through its invisible cultivation. Not through the announcement of strength, but through its hidden development. Not through the correction of others' underestimation, but through its strategic exploitation. Your greatest victories will come when others never see you coming. Your most powerful moves will be the ones no one realized you could make. Your true strength will grow in the shadow of others' misconceptions. The supreme test of a strategist is not their performance in ideal conditions, but their clarity in chaos. Anyone can think clearly in calm waters. The master strategist maintains precision of thought in the storm. Today, I will teach you how to make chaos your ally. The untrained mind fears disorder. They seek perfect conditions. They wait for clarity. They believe they can only perform at their best when everything is under control. This is why they fail when reality intrudes, as it always does, with its inevitable chaos. Let me share with you a truth that has determined the outcome of countless battles. Chaos is not your enemy. It is your training ground. The more comfortable you become with disorder, the more powerful you become in situations that break others. Consider how nature trains its strongest elements. The tree that grows in the storm develops deeper roots than one that grows in the greenhouse. The water that crashes through rapids becomes more pure than water that stands still. Resistance creates resilience. The master strategist understands this deeply. They know that controlled conditions breed fragile capabilities. Only by training in chaos can you develop unshakable strength. Only by embracing disorder can you build true strategic stability. Let me teach you the 5 principles of chaos. Training. First principle. Seek discomfort. Deliberately place yourself in challenging situations. Train under pressure. Work with incomplete information. Make decisions with imperfect clarity. The more you practice in difficulty, the more capable you become in crisis. Second principle. Embrace uncertainty. Learn to operate without complete knowledge. Accept that perfect information is a myth. Develop your ability to make strategic decisions with partial data. The more comfortable you become with uncertainty, the more effectively you can act in unclear situations. Third principle, master state control. Your internal state must remain independent of external chaos. Develop the ability to maintain strategic clarity regardless of circumstances. Your calm must be unconditional. not dependent on the situation, but anchored in your training. Fourth principle, extract order from chaos, learn to see patterns in disorder. Train your mind to identify structure in seemingly random events. Develop the ability to create strategic clarity from confused situations. Chaos becomes your advantage when you can see what others miss. Fifth principle, maintain strategic direction. Even in complete disorder, hold your strategic objective clearly. Let tactical details flex with circumstances, but keep your ultimate goal unwavering. The more chaos surrounds you, the more important this becomes. Now let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, you must understand the 3 levels of chaos training. Physical chaos. Train your body to maintain precision in physical stress. Practice making decisions while physically uncomfortable. Develop your ability to execute with perfect form, even when exhausted. Mental chaos. Train with information overload. Practice strategic thinking while handling multiple problems. Develop your ability to maintain clear thought in confused situations. Emotional chaos. Train under pressure. Practice strategic thinking while emotionally challenged. Develop your ability to maintain objectivity in personally difficult situations. Here are your exercises in chaos mastery. Today, begin your deliberate chaos training. Identify 3 areas of your life where you demand perfect conditions. 4. Each area intentionally introduce controlled disorder. Practice maintaining performance as conditions degrade. Practice the art of chaos navigation. When facing any complex situation, follow these steps. First, establish your stable point, your unchanging strategic objective. Then identify patterns within the chaos. What structure exists beneath the disorder? Finally, create your path forward, not by eliminating chaos, but by moving through it. Master the skill of strategic calm. In any chaotic situation, practice these 3 steps. Acknowledge the chaos without fighting it. Find your center, your trained point of clarity. Act from this center, letting the chaos flow around you without disturbing your strategic thought. Remember, the amateur seeks to eliminate chaos before acting. The master strategist learns to think and act clearly within it. They understand that chaos is not an obstacle to strategic thinking. It is an opportunity to demonstrate strategic mastery. This is why the ancient masters trained their warriors in the most difficult conditions. They knew that comfort creates weakness, while controlled exposure to chaos builds unshakable strength. They understood that true strategic ability must be chaos-proof. Your task is to transform your relationship with disorder. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start training in imperfect ones. Stop seeking clarity before acting. Start acting to create clarity. Stop trying to eliminate chaos. Start using it as your advantage. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Let others wait for ideal conditions while you learn to thrive in real ones. Let them seek perfect clarity while you learn to navigate through fog. Let them fear chaos while you make it your ally. This is the path to true strategic mastery, not through the avoidance of chaos, but through its embrace. Not through the elimination of disorder, but through the development of order within it. Not through the fear of uncertainty, but through the mastery of clear thought in unclear conditions. Your greatest strength will emerge not from your performance in ideal conditions, but from your ability to maintain strategic clarity when others lose their way. Your true power will come not from avoiding chaos, but from making it your natural training ground. Listen carefully, for I will now teach you one of the most crucial principles of strategic mastery. A distracted warrior is already defeated. Your mind must be like a blade, singular in purpose, sharp in focus, free from all that does not serve its essential function. The modern world conspires against strategic thinking. It bombards you with notifications, floods you with information, fragments your attention into 1,000 pieces. This is not accident. It is tactical warfare, against your strategic capacity. Let me share with you a truth that has determined the fate of countless battles. The warrior who thinks of 10 things loses to the warrior who thinks of one. Strategic power is not in the breadth of your attention, but in its depth. Consider how a magnifying glass focuses sunlight. Spread across a surface, sunlight merely warms. Focused to a point, it ignites. Your strategic thinking must achieve this same transformation from diffuse awareness to concentrated power. The master strategist understands that attention is not just a resource, it is the resource. All other capabilities depend on your ability to focus. All other skills are subordinate to your power of concentration. A warrior with perfect technique, but scattered focus, will fall to one with average technique and perfect concentration. Let me teach you the 5 principles of strategic focus. First principle: eliminate the unnecessary. Your first task is not to manage distractions, it is to destroy them. Be ruthless in this. Every notification you allow, every interruption you permit, every distraction you tolerate is a weapon your enemies can use against you. Second principle: create sacred space. Your strategic thinking requires territory free from invasion. Establish physical and temporal boundaries that nothing can cross. Create spaces where your focus is absolute, uncompromised, protected, like the inner chamber of a fortress. Third principle: practice singular focus. Train your mind to think of one thing with complete absorption. Not 2 things well, one thing, perfectly. Not many things adequately, one thing masterfully. This is not limitation, it is liberation through concentration. Fourth principle: master strategic filtering. Develop instant recognition of what deserves your attention and what does not. Your mind must become like a highly trained guard, letting through only what serves your strategic objectives, blocking everything else without hesitation. Fifth principle: maintain mental clarity. Your mind must be like still water, calm enough to reflect reality perfectly, clear enough to see through to the depths. Any disturbance, any pollution, any distraction diminishes this clarity and weakens your strategic capability. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, you must understand the 3 levels of distraction. External distractions. These are the obvious invaders: notifications, interruptions, noise. They are the easiest to identify, but often the hardest to eliminate because they have become habitual. Your first task is to conduct a ruthless purge of these external disruptions. Internal distractions. These are the thoughts that fragment your focus, worries, plans, remembered tasks. They are more subtle than external distractions, but equally dangerous to strategic thinking. You must develop systems to capture and control these internal disruptions, systemic distractions. These are the structural elements in your life that create continuous disruption. They are the hardest to recognize because they appear necessary or normal. Your highest task is to redesign your systems to eliminate these structural distractions. Here are your exercises in distraction destruction. Today, begin your systematic purge. Turn off every notification on every device. Establish specific times for checking messages and communications. Create physical spaces where no interruption is permitted. Practice the art of singular focus. Choose one important task. Set a timer for 30 minutes. Focus on only this task with absolute concentration. If your mind wanders, gently return it to the task. Gradually increase the duration as your focus strengthens. Master the skill of strategic filtering. Before engaging with any information, ask, does this serve my strategic objectives? Is this essential to my current mission? Will this improve my strategic position? If the answer is no, reject it immediately without hesitation. Remember, the amateur tries to manage many things at once. The master strategist eliminates everything that does not serve their purpose. They understand that strategic power comes not from doing more, but from focusing absolutely on what matters most. This is why the ancient masters emphasized the power of singular focus. They knew that a warrior thinking of family during battle would die, that a general considering politics during strategy would fail, that any division of mental energy created vulnerability. Your task is to transform your relationship with attention. Stop trying to focus on many things. Start eliminating everything that diverts you from what matters most. Stop trying to manage distractions. Start destroying them. Stop accepting interruption as normal. Start treating it as an attack on your strategic capability. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Let others fragment their attention while you cultivate singular focus. Let them react to every notification while you maintain strategic clarity. Let them try to do many things while you achieve mastery through concentration. This is the path to true strategic power, not through the expansion of attention, but through its perfect concentration. Not through the management of distractions, but through their elimination. Not through doing more, but through focusing absolutely on what matters most. Your greatest strength will emerge not from your ability to handle many things, but from your power to focus completely on one thing. Your true advantage will come not from managing distractions, but from creating conditions where they cannot exist. When the moment of action arrives, hesitation becomes your greatest enemy. The time for contemplation has passed. The time for analysis is over. Now, you must become like lightning, swift, decisive, unstoppable. Today, I will teach you the art of decisive action. The untrained mind confuses thoughtfulness with hesitation. They believe that longer consideration always leads to better decisions. They wait for perfect certainty before acting. In doing so, they surrender one of the most powerful strategic advantages, initiative. Let me share with you a truth that has decided countless victories. The first mover shapes the battlefield. All who move after must adapt to conditions they did not create. This is why decisive action, properly timed, creates advantage that no amount of subsequent effort can overcome. Consider how nature demonstrates this principle. The predator that hesitates goes hungry. The tree that delays its spring growth loses its place in the canopy. The river that hesitates at the cliff never becomes a waterfall. In the natural world, decisive action is not just advantage, it is survival. The master strategist understands that there are two distinct phases of any engagement, the time for preparation and the time for action. During preparation, be methodical, thorough, patient. But when the moment of action arrives, strike with the suddenness of lightning and the force of thunder. Let me teach you the 5 principles of decisive action. First principle, recognize the moment. Learn to identify when the time for preparation ends and the time for action begins. This recognition must become instinctive. The window for decisive action opens briefly, hesitate, and it closes. Second principle, commit totally. When you strike, commit your full force. Tentative action is worse than no action. Half measures create vulnerability without securing advantage. When you move, move with everything you have. Third principle, create momentum. Your first action should initiate a cascade of effects. Strike in a way that each consequence amplifies your advantage. Create momentum that carries through to your objective. Fourth principle, maintain initiative. Once you begin, do not surrender momentum. Keep the initiative, force others to react to you rather than allowing them to regain balance and mount their own actions. Fifth principle, follow through. Decisive action is not just about the initial strike. It is about maintaining pressure until your objective is achieved. Do not let up until victory is secured. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, you must understand the 3 phases of decisive action. Preparation phase. This is where you gather intelligence, build resources, create advantages. Be thorough here. Be patient. Leave no detail unconsidered, but recognize when this phase is complete. Commitment phase. This is the moment of transition from preparation to action. It must be clean, clear, absolute. No hesitation, no half measures, no looking back. Execution phase. This is where preparation transforms into achievement. Move with full force. Maintain momentum. Follow through to completion. Let nothing delay or divert you until your objective is secured. Here are your exercises in decisive action. Today, practice the art of clean commitment. Identify 3 decisions you've been delaying. For each one, ask, is more preparation truly needed, or am I simply hesitating? If preparation is complete, commit and act immediately. If preparation is truly needed, set a specific deadline for its completion. Master the recognition of action moments. Learn to identify these signals when further preparation yields diminishing returns, when the cost of delay exceeds the benefit of more analysis, when opportunity windows begin to close, when others are paralyzed by uncertainty. Practice the skill of momentum creation. In your next 3 actions, focus on making your first move. Create multiple effects, using each effect to enable your next move. Maintaining pressure until your objective is achieved. Never letting the initiative slip from your grasp. Remember, the amateur believes that faster decisions are always riskier. The master strategist knows that hesitation often creates more risk than decisive action. They understand that the right action, taken swiftly, creates advantages that no amount of careful planning can match. This is why the ancient masters emphasized the harmony between preparation and action. They knew that endless preparation without action was as fatal as action without preparation. They understood that victory goes to those who can both prepare thoroughly and act decisively. Your task is to transform your relationship with action. Stop confusing hesitation with wisdom. Stop mistaking delay for strategy. Stop waiting for perfect certainty. It does not exist. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Let others hesitate while you act. Let them wait for perfect conditions while you create advantages through decisive movement. Let them analyze endlessly while you shape reality through committed action. This is the path to strategic mastery, not through endless contemplation, but through the perfect balance of thorough preparation and decisive action. Not through waiting for certainty, but through creating certainty through movement. Not through avoiding risk, but through controlling it through decisive engagement. Your greatest victories will come not from having perfect plans, but from executing good plans with perfect commitment. Your true power will emerge not from knowing everything before acting, but from acting decisively with what you know. The supreme achievement in warfare is not winning every battle. It is winning without battle. Today I will teach you the highest form of strategic mastery, the art of victory through prevention. This is not the way of the coward, but the path of the supreme strategist. The untrained mind glorifies combat. They measure strength by victories won, power by battles fought, mastery by enemies defeated. This is the thinking of amateurs. The master strategist knows that the greatest victory is the conflict prevented, the battle made unnecessary, the enemy transformed into an ally. Let me share with you a truth that has preserved empires. Prevention is not passive. It is the most active form of strategic dominance. When you achieve victory before conflict begins, you demonstrate the highest level of strategic mastery. Consider how nature demonstrates this principle. The mighty oak prevents competition not through combat, but by creating shade where rivals cannot grow. The river prevents obstruction not by smashing rocks, but by flowing around them. The mountain prevents challenge not through force, but through sheer presence. The master strategist understands that true power lies not in the ability to win conflicts, but in the ability to make conflicts unnecessary. They know that every battle fought, even if won, represents a strategic failure, a moment where prevention would have been superior to cure. Let me teach you the 5 principles of preventive victory. First principle: create deterrent strength. Build such obvious capability that others choose not to challenge you. This is not about displaying power, it is about developing such clear superiority that resistance appears futile before it begins. Second principle: control strategic territory. Occupy positions of such advantage that conflict becomes unnecessary. When your position is superior, others will seek alliance rather than opposition. They will choose cooperation over conflict. Third principle: shape perceptions. Early influence how others see situations before tensions arise. When you control the narrative, you control how others understand their options. Make peace appear profitable and conflict appear costly. Fourth principle: build strategic alliances. Create networks of relationships that make conflict against you unthinkable. When you are essential to others' success, they become invested in your security. Their self-interest becomes your defense. Fifth principle: remove causes of conflict, identify and eliminate the conditions that lead to confrontation. Address grievances before they become grievances. Solve problems before they become problems. Clear paths before they become blocked. Now let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, understand the 3 levels of preventive mastery. Tactical. Prevention: this is about preventing specific conflicts. Identify potential flashpoints before they ignite. Create solutions before problems fully form. Address small issues before they become large ones. Strategic prevention: this involves shaping environments to make conflict unlikely. Build systems that reward cooperation. Create structures that make peace more profitable than conflict. Develop positions that discourage challenge. Systemic prevention: this is the highest level, creating conditions where conflict becomes unnecessary. Transform potential opponents into stakeholders. Make your success essential to others' well-being. Create situations where peace is the natural state. Here are your exercises in preventive mastery. Today, begin your practice of strategic prevention. Identify 3 potential conflicts on your horizon. For each one, ask, what conditions might lead to this conflict? How can I transform these conditions now? What alliances could make this conflict unnecessary? Practice the art of deterrent positioning. In your key relationships and situations, build clear but unthreatening capability. Demonstrate value rather than force. Make others want you to succeed. Create situations where supporting you serves others' interests. Master the skill of early intervention. Learn to recognize these warning signs. Small frustrations that could grow, minor tensions that could escalate, slight misalignments that could become conflicts. Address each one before it develops momentum. Remember, the amateur strategist prepares to win conflicts. The master strategist prepares to prevent them. They understand that true strategic genius lies not in solving problems, but in preventing them from arising. This is why the ancient masters said that supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. They knew that prevention requires greater skill than a cure, that creating peace demands more mastery than winning war. Your task is to transform your relationship with conflict. Stop preparing only for how to win. Start preparing for how to make winning unnecessary. Stop thinking about defeating opposition. Start thinking about making opposition obsolete. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Let others prepare for battle while you create conditions that make battle unnecessary. Let them sharpen their weapons while you build bridges. Let them plan victories while you make victory unnecessary. This is the path to supreme strategic mastery, not through better methods of winning, but through better methods of prevention. Not through superior force, but through superior positioning. Not through the power to prevail in conflict, but through the wisdom to prevent conflict entirely. Your greatest achievements will not be the battles you win, but the battles that never need to be fought. Your true power will come not from your ability to overcome opposition, but from your ability to make opposition unnecessary. This is the highest form of strategic victory, not the triumph of force over force, but the transformation of potential conflict into lasting peace, not the defeat of enemies, but the transformation of enemies into allies, not the glory of winning battles, but the mastery of making battles unnecessary. The most overlooked element of strategy is not how to advance, but how to exit. Today I will teach you what most strategists never learn, the art of strategic withdrawal. This is not retreat. It is the master skill of leaving positions of weakness for positions of strength. The untrained mind clings. They hold on to failing positions out of pride. They maintain draining relationships out of habit. They persist in declining situations out of fear. This is not loyalty. It is strategic blindness, and it has destroyed more warriors than any enemy. Let me share with you a truth that has saved armies and empires. How you exit is as important as how you enter. The master strategist knows that every position has its season, every strategy its time, every engagement its natural conclusion. Consider how nature demonstrates this principle. The tree knows when to shed its leaves. The river knows when to change its course. The wolf knows when to abandon a hunt. In nature, strategic withdrawal is not weakness, it is wisdom. The master strategist understands that everything has its cycle of advantage. What was once a position of strength can become a trap. What was once an asset can become a liability. The art is knowing when to hold and when to release, and how to make even. Your exits serve your strategy. Let me teach you the 5 principles of strategic exit. First principle, recognize decline. Early, learn to identify when a position begins to weaken before it becomes obviously untenable. The earlier you recognize the need to exit, the more options you have for how to exit. Second principle, exit from strength. Do not wait until you are forced to exit from weakness. The best time to leave a position is when you still have power, resources, and choices. Exit while others still wish you would stay. Third principle, extract maximum value. Never leave empty-handed. Every exit should yield lessons, resources, relationships, or advantages that serve your next position. Transform departure into opportunity. Fourth principle, maintain relationships. How you exit determines future possibilities. Leave in a way that keeps doors open, maintains respect, and preserves the option of future alliance. Today's exit may be tomorrow's entrance. Fifth principle, control the narrative shape, how your exit is understood. Don't let others define your departure. Create the story that serves your future strategy. Make your exit strengthen, not weaken, your strategic position. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, understand the 3 levels of strategic exit. Tactical exit. This is leaving specific situations or engagements. Focus on timing and method. Preserve resources and relationships. Create advantage through the manner of departure. Strategic exit. This involves leaving larger positions or commitments. Requires careful planning and preparation. Must align with broader strategic objectives. Should create platforms for future advancement. Systemic exit. This is transforming entire strategic approaches, involves fundamental repositioning, requires comprehensive re-evaluation. Must create new strategic possibilities. Here are your exercises in exit mastery. Today, analyze your current positions. Identify 3 situations where you might need to exit eventually. For each one, ask, what signs would tell me it's time to leave? What would an exit from strength look like? What assets should I preserve or extract? How could I make this exit serve my larger strategy? Practice the art of position evaluation. Regularly assess your engagements using these criteria. Is this position still serving my strategic objectives? Am I gaining or losing strength here? What opportunities am I missing by staying? What risks am I accepting by remaining? Master the skill of strategic disengagement. When exit becomes necessary, follow this sequence. First, secure your assets and resources. Then, establish your next position. Next, create your exit narrative. Finally, execute your withdrawal with clarity and decisiveness. Remember, the amateur strategist thinks only about how to advance and win. The master strategist knows that strategic withdrawal, properly executed, is often the quickest path to greater victory. This is why the ancient masters emphasized the importance of knowing when to engage and when to disengage. They understood that victory often comes not from holding on, but from letting go at the right moment in the right way. Your task is to transform your relationship with exit. Stop seeing withdrawal as failure. Start seeing it as strategic repositioning. Stop clinging to declining positions. Start seeking stronger ones. Stop waiting until exit is forced. Start choosing exit from strength. Practice this principle until it becomes instinct. Let others cling while you strategically release. Let them hold declining positions while you move to ascending ones. Let them fear exit while you master it. This is the path to strategic mastery. Not through blind persistence, but through wise disengagement. Not through holding on at all costs, but through letting go at the right cost. Not through avoiding exits, but through mastering them. Your greatest victories will often come not from what you achieve by staying, but from what you enable by leaving. Your true power will emerge not from your ability to hold positions, but from your mastery of strategic exit, when those positions no longer serve your greater strategy. Listen carefully, for today I will teach you what separates the momentary victor from the lasting champion. The art of mental fortification. Any warrior can win a battle, but only those with fortified minds can sustain victory through the long war of life. The untrained mind focuses only on immediate challenges. They prepare for battles, but not for campaigns. They train for sprints, but not for marathons. They build weapons, but not fortresses. This is why they often win battles, but lose wars. Let me share with you a truth that has preserved dynasties. The longest war you will ever fight is not against any external enemy, it is against time itself. And in this war, mental fortification is your only defense against the siege of years. Consider how nature demonstrates this principle. The mountain endures not because it fights the storm, but because it is built to withstand it, the ancient. Tree survives not by battling the seasons, but by being structured to endure them. Longevity requires more than strength. It requires fortification. The master strategist understands that every achievement must be defended, every position maintained, every victory preserved. They know that the greater your success, the more forces will arise to test it. This is why they build not just capabilities, but fortresses of the mind. Let me teach you the 5 principles of mental fortification. First principle: build deep foundations. Your mental fortress must rest on unshakable principles. Surface strength is not enough. Your core beliefs, your fundamental values, your essential understanding must go deep enough that no storm can uproot them. Second principle: establish multiple defenses. Never rely on a single wall of protection. Your mental fortress must have layers of defense: psychological, philosophical, practical. When one defense is tested, others must stand ready. Third principle: create internal supply lines. External resources can be cut off. Your mental fortress must be able to sustain itself. Develop internal sources of strength, motivation, and renewal that don't depend on external validation or support. Fourth principle: maintain clear sight lines. Your fortress must allow you to see clearly in all directions. Maintain perspective. Keep watch for approaching challenges. Never let your defenses blind you to opportunities or threats. Fifth principle: build recovery zones. Even the strongest walls need maintenance. Create spaces within your mental fortress where you can retreat, recover, and repair. Sustainability requires the ability to restore strength, Now let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, understand the 3 levels of mental fortification. Tactical fortification. This is your daily psychological armor. Routines that protect your focus. Habits that preserve your energy. Practices that maintain your stability. Strategic fortification. This is your longer-term psychological infrastructure. Beliefs that sustain your purpose. Relationships that support your mission. Systems that protect your progress. Systemic fortification. This is your lifetime psychological architecture. Principles that guide your decisions. Values that anchor your identity. Wisdom that evolves with experience. Here are your exercises. In mental fortification, today, begin building your psychological defenses. Identify your 3 most vulnerable points under pressure. For each one, design 3 layers of defense: immediate response protocols, secondary support systems, long-term strengthening practices. Practice the art of psychological maintenance. Establish daily fortification routines, morning preparation, rituals midday, reinforcement practices, evening restoration procedures, regular system audits and repairs. Master the skill of strategic sustainability. Build your fortress with these elements: clear lines of retreat and recovery, multiple sources of strength and support, renewable energy and resource systems, adaptable defenses that can evolve. Remember, the amateur strategist prepares only for immediate challenges. The master strategist builds systems that can sustain success through any challenge, for any duration. This is why the ancient masters emphasized the importance of preparation beyond the battle. They knew that any victory can be temporary, but only proper fortification makes triumph sustainable. Your task is to transform your approach to strategic sustainability. Stop thinking in terms of individual battles. Start building for the long war. Stop creating temporary defenses. Start constructing permanent fortifications. Stop preparing for challenges. Start building systems that make you challenge-proof. Practice these principles until they become your fortress. Build your foundation so deep that no storm can shake them. Create defenses so comprehensive that no attack can breach them. Establish systems so sustainable that no siege can exhaust them. Maintain awareness so clear that no threat can surprise them. This is the path to lasting strategic dominance, not through the power to win individual conflicts, but through the capacity to sustain success through all conflicts. Not through temporary strength, but through permanent fortification. Not through the ability to fight, but through the power to endure. Your greatest achievements will not be your moments of victory, but your ability to maintain those victories through time. Your true power will emerge not from your capacity to succeed, but from your ability to sustain success through any challenge, any change, any duration. Remember, the fortress of your mind must be stronger than any external force you might face. It must be deep enough to weather any storm, high enough to deter any assault, and sustainable enough to outlast any siege. This is not just about surviving, it is about creating a position of such profound strength that mere survival becomes irrelevant. The wise warrior does not fight the terrain, they use it. The superior strategist does not resist reality, they adapt to it. Today, I will teach you the art of environmental mastery, for in strategy, the ground beneath your feet determines the limits of what is possible. The untrained mind believes in absolute strategies. They think what works in one terrain will work in all terrains. They attempt to impose their preferred methods regardless of conditions. This is why they fail. They fight not just their opponents, but reality itself. Let me share with you a truth that has guided conquerors. The environment is not your enemy or your ally, it is your instrument. When you truly understand your terrain, every feature becomes a potential advantage, every condition a possible weapon. Consider how water demonstrates this principle. It becomes ice in cold, vapor in heat, takes any shape that contains it. It does not fight conditions, it adapts to them. And in this perfect adaptation, it finds power. The strategist must become like water. The master strategist understands that every environment has its own laws, its own rhythms, its own requirements for success. They know that wisdom lies not in having a perfect strategy, but in having perfect adaptability to conditions. Let me teach you the 5 principles of environmental mastery. First principle: read the terrain. Learn to see what others miss. Every environment has its hidden patterns, its natural flows, its points of advantage and vulnerability. Before you move, understand the ground on which you stand. Second principle: adapt your methods. What succeeds in one environment will fail in another. Your strategies must be as fluid as water, as adaptable as life itself. Let conditions dictate your methods, not your preferences. Third principle: use natural forces. Every environment has its own energies, its own momentum. Don't fight these forces, harness them. Let the natural flows of your terrain multiply your strength. Fourth principle: create favorable conditions. When you cannot find perfect terrain, create it. Shape your environment where possible. Where not possible, shape yourself to match its demands. Fifth principle: maintain environmental awareness. Conditions change. Today's favorable terrain may become tomorrow's trap. Keep constant watch on your environment, for in its shifts lie both danger and opportunity. Now, let me show you how to apply these principles in practice. First, understand the 3 levels of environmental mastery. Tactical adaptation. This is immediate response to conditions. Reading the immediate terrain, adjusting to present circumstances, using current conditions to advantage. Strategic adaptation. This is longer-term environmental alignment. Understanding broader patterns, positioning for future conditions, creating sustainable advantage. Systemic adaptation. This is fundamental environmental integration, becoming one with your terrain, transforming challenges into advantages. Making the environment itself your ally. Here are your exercises in environmental mastery. Today, begin your practice of terrain reading. In every significant situation, ask, what are the natural flows of power here? Where are the points of resistance? What advantages does this terrain offer? What limitations does it impose? Practice the art of strategic adaptation. For each of your current challenges, identify the environmental factors at play. Analyze how these factors affect your options. Adjust your methods to match conditions. Find ways to use existing forces to your advantage. Master the skill of environmental integration. Learn to see these elements in every situation. Natural pathways of least resistance, hidden sources of support or opposition, potential points of leverage, opportunities for positive transformation. Remember, the amateur strategist tries to force their preferred methods on every situation. The master strategist shapes their methods to match the terrain. They understand that true power comes not from fighting conditions, but from perfect adaptation to them. This is why the ancient masters studied natural law so deeply. They knew that success comes not from imposing our will on reality, but from aligning our actions with the natural flows of power in our environment. Your task is to transform your relationship with your environment. Stop seeing conditions as obstacles. Start seeing them as instruments. Stop fighting your terrain. Start using it. Stop wishing for perfect conditions. Start mastering the conditions you have. Practice these principles until they become instinct. Read your terrain before making any move. Adapt your methods to match your conditions. Use environmental forces to multiply your strength. Create advantage through perfect alignment with reality. This is the path to environmental mastery, not through the power to overcome conditions, but through the wisdom to use them. Not through resistance to reality, but through perfect adaptation to it. Not through forcing your way, but through finding the way that conditions favor. Your greatest power will emerge not from your ability to fight your environment, but from your capacity to understand and use it. Your true strength will come not from imposing your will on conditions, but from aligning your strategy with the natural flows of power in your terrain. Remember, the superior strategist sees opportunity where others see obstacle, advantage where others see adversity. They understand that every condition, properly understood and properly used, becomes a weapon in the arsenal of the wise. We have reached the final teaching, the culmination of all strategic wisdom. Today, I will share with you the ultimate truth. True mastery comes not from knowing strategy, but from becoming strategy itself. The highest achievement is not to use these principles, but to embody them. The journey we have walked together has transformed you. You have learned to master your inner battlefield, to wield silence as a weapon, to position yourself for advantage. You have discovered how to think. 3 moves ahead to detach from emotion, to control narratives without words. But now comes the final transformation. Let me share with you the supreme understanding. Strategy is not a tool you use. It is a state you achieve. When you reach this state, you no longer think about strategic principles. You simply are them. Like water flowing downhill, like wind shaping mountains, your very nature becomes strategic. Consider how nature demonstrates this truth. The eagle does not think about aerodynamics. It is aerodynamic. The river does not consider fluid dynamics. It is fluid dynamics. The storm does not study strategy. It is strategy in motion. This is your destination, to become so aligned with strategic principles that they are no longer external wisdom, but internal nature. The master strategist understands that all the principles we have studied are not separate teachings, but aspects of a single truth. When fully integrated, they create not a collection of strategies, but a strategic being. This is the difference between having power and being power. Let me teach you the 5 principles of strategic embodiment. First principle, unify all teachings. All the principles you have learned must merge into one seamless understanding. Inner mastery, position, leverage, timing, adaptation. These are not separate skills, but faces of the same diamond. Second principle, transcend conscious application. Move beyond having to think about strategy. Let strategic action become as natural as breathing, as instinctive as blinking. Your mind should not need to consult principles. It should simply know. Third principle, achieve strategic flow. Reach the state where strategy flows through you without effort. Like a master martial artist whose body moves perfectly without thought, your strategic mind should respond perfectly without calculation. Fourth principle, become one with circumstance. Eliminate the gap between observation and action, between understanding and response. When you truly embody strategy, you don't adapt to circumstances. You flow with them as part of them. Fifth principle, manifest strategic presence. Your very presence should become strategic. Without saying a word, without taking any action, your mere existence should shape situations to your advantage. Now, let me show you how to achieve this final transformation. First, understand the 3 levels of strategic embodiment. Tactical embodiment. This is when strategic principles become automatic in immediate situations. Your responses become instantaneous and perfect. You no longer need to think about what to do. You simply do it. Strategic embodiment. This is when strategic understanding becomes your natural way of seeing. You perceive situations in their full strategic complexity without effort. Your mind naturally thinks in terms of position, leverage, and advantage. Complete embodiment. This is the highest state. When you become strategy itself, there is no separation between you and strategic principle. Your very existence becomes a strategic force. Here are your exercises in strategic embodiment. Today, begin your practice of unification. Review all the principles you have learned. See how each connects to all others. Find the common thread that runs through all teachings. Begin to feel them not as separate ideas, but as one integrated truth. Practice the art of strategic flow. In every situation, Let go of conscious calculation. Trust your developed strategic instincts. Allow perfect response to emerge naturally. Feel strategy, flowing through you rather than from you. Master the state of strategic being. Move beyond doing strategy to being strategic. Let every breath carry strategic power. Let every movement express strategic truth. Let your very presence shape reality. Remember, the amateur strategist thinks about principles. The master strategist embodies them. They understand that the highest achievement is not to know the way, but to become the way. This is why the ancient masters emphasized the importance of complete integration. They knew that true mastery comes not from accumulating knowledge, but from transforming one's very nature. Your task now is to complete your transformation. Stop trying to apply strategy. Start being strategic. Stop consulting principles. Start embodying them. Stop using power. Start being power. Practice until this final transformation is complete. Let every principle become part of your nature. Let every teaching merge into one truth. Let every skill become natural expression. Let strategy become your very essence. This is the path to ultimate mastery. Not through the collection of principles, but through their complete integration. Not through the application of strategy, but through becoming strategy itself. Not through the use of power, but through the transformation into power. Your greatest achievement will not be what you can do with strategy, but what you become through strategy. Your true power will emerge not from knowing these teachings, but from being these teachings. Remember, you have not simply learned a way of thinking, you have begun a process of becoming. Let this transformation continue until there is no separation between you and strategic truth, between your actions and strategic principle, between your presence and strategic power. The storm does not try to be powerful, it simply is power. The river does not try to find its way, it simply is the way. And now, you must not try to be strategic, you must simply be strategy itself.